Greetings, I'm EuGene V Byrd III. This is our second installment of Artrepreneur, and today we're going to talk a little bit about graphic design. Now, by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about graphic design to help you become the best designer in the world. Yo, I'm just kidding. Can't nobody tell you that. You know, graphic design must be studied, appreciated, you know what I'm saying, and respected. But what I can do is just give you my perspective of graphic design, you know, straight from an artist's perspective. And just to give you a little background about myself. You know, I've been an artist my whole life, but I can't front. I wasn't too confident, you know what I'm saying, about earning a living coming from a working class family. So I decided to study graphic design. Studied graphic design at Atlanta College of Art and received my degree from SCAD. And I've been working and making a living as a professional graphic designer for over 15 years. So first and foremost, I want to say if fine art is your passion, you know, I think that is initially what you should study, but it's good to have some design ability. And the same things that you learn with design, you know, you can apply that to your fine art practices within the contrast, proximity, balance, putting emphasis on things, hierarchy. These same things that are foundations of graphic design are also within painting, composition, color theory, even typography. You know, you study all these things in design, but they also give you a better eye as an artist as well. So it's good to do both. So for those that want to learn graphic design that's not interested in formal education, start to purchase and study graphic design magazines, design annuals, try to see the design studios out here winning the awards. Just pay attention to what's kind of trending with design. Journaling, start a design journal or just a scrapbook and just start collecting things that appeal to you personally. And then start to figure out why are these things, why are you attracted to this particular type of design, and implement that into your practice. And initially you can start on just trying to recreate looks that you have seen and but putting your own spin on it, and then start coming up with original ideas. So basically what I'm saying is I encourage you to go ahead and study graphic design as a higher education setting if that's what you prefer, to get into a design career. It is very lucrative and you can find joy within it you are creating. But also if you're a painter, there's ways to learn it and use it to your advantage to not only do your own designs but also to supplement your income, and you can learn design and pick up on things without going to school. So do you, basically, is what I'm saying. Try not to make no excuses and try to remove any barriers in your way, and you'll be fine. So with that in mind, what is graphic design anyway? Well, by definition, graphic design is the art. I like the way they started that definition with art, because design is an art, you know. The art or skill of combining text and pictures in advertisements, magazines, or books. You know what I'm saying? It is the definition of graphic design, but that's mad vague. So when I say graphic design, what it means to me is basically, and what it's meant for my career, is print media. Anything printed, you know what I'm saying, I can do. Something you can hold in your hand, something you can see. Print media, it has to be designed. And a lot of things fall under print design, from package design, from the chips you might be snacking on, someone had to design that bag, to editorial design, magazine, multi-page layout design, which is my personal favorite, corporate identity, logos, anything that's printed, billboards, advertisements for the movies, for the music industry. The client list is endless because everyone deals in print media. If you get into graphic design, you gotta like text. You gotta like typography. I really have a love affair with type. I do. If you don't like typography and you don't have a relationship with type and you don't even want to learn it, you're probably not gonna do well in design. In graphic design. Sometimes a lot of graphic designers can kind of get into light industrial design work, like I have in my career. Sometimes you might want to transition your graphic design knowledge and ability and experience and start doing some multimedia design, kinetic type, user interface design. You know, those are buzzwords that's going to start to make you some money in the field. If you're a user experience expert, which I like to say I am, you know, my resume proves it. Also, it just came from studying graphic design, because the way graphic design looks at things is a little different, and it applies across that print medium to multimedia stuff. You know, a designer, if you're just doing print, you're going to be limited in the jobs that you're going to get. As a 15-year plus experienced designer, one thing I learned really quickly: ideals equal money. You got to have those fresh ideas, good concepts, along with the ability to implement these ideas. But the ideas even trumps the implementation. The mind is always going to trump the hand. Production is good. If you just want to be in production, that's fine. In the design world, especially corporate design world, you know, you're a worker. You know, you're going to be at this machine. You're a worker bee. You're like a tool sometimes in the graphic design world, to keep it 100 with you. Ideas are key. That's where being an artist kind of should have an advantage, because artists always should have ideas. That's just a little tip. Production is good. I made a long career myself off of knowing the software. You know what I'm saying? I know how to work the design software, which is the Adobe Creative Suite. Built my whole career off of Adobe products. My whole career and my whole income has been generated from my knowledge of Adobe software, coupled with ideas. But even when the ideas wasn't flowing, I can always fall back on my knowledge of the software and have some job security and be able to make some money. So speaking of that, you know, that's what we're going to get right into, is design software. So before you get too deep, for me, I always recommend people, the easiest thing to do is first start studying the software. Learn the software. I learned Adobe Illustrator first, late 90s. Really all my money in my whole career, being able to feed my family off of my knowledge of Adobe software. I'm loyal to Adobe, man. I'm thankful for that. It's like I can depend on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's always been there for me. I'm comfortable with it. I can work that software. I believe that when you start to learn these softwares, don't come in with a project in mind. A lot of people I know, they only want to open the software because they have this idea that you're trying to implement. So they don't really want to learn the software. They're just trying to do what they want it to do. I recommend to take the time to say, I'm just focused on learning the software right now. Take your personal aspirations out for the moment, because you have this grandiose idea, but you can't even get in the software and make a circle. You know, you're not going to be effective that way, and just going to get frustrated. I believe if you take the time to just learn the software, and then after you have a knowledge of the software, then start bringing your personal ideas into the mix, I think you have a greater chance of success. Best way to learn Adobe software is directly through the source, Adobe. Adobe puts out these books called Classrooms in a Book. They're only like $30. You buy the book, and you also get to download the working files to the exercises in the book. So you have step-by-step instructions and the working files, and just go through it step by step, and you're going to have a great knowledge of that software by the time you finish the book. You can finish a complete book in 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks, you have a strong knowledge of one of these softwares. And then after you learn the software, then start implementing your own personal designs. There's 3 major softwares I recommend that you learn as a designer: Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. They all have their different purposes. Adobe Photoshop is exactly what it says, photos. If you're manipulating photos, if what you're doing is heavy photo layout, then you use Adobe Photoshop. Other than that, you don't really use Adobe Photoshop. You don't do text. You don't do a lot of graphics in Adobe Photoshop. If you're doing heavy graphics, heavy text, you really should be creating that in Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator complements Adobe Photoshop, and you use them accordingly. I see a lot of people using Adobe Photoshop when they really should be using Adobe Illustrator. And you're doing that for a client, sometimes you're doing them a disservice, because Adobe Photoshop is a bitmap-based program, which means all the images are little tiny dots to make up that image. That's why you deal in things like DPI. You hear 300 DPI a lot, 72 DPI for web. That literally means dots per inch. So it's just a bunch of dots making up that image. Now, if you're doing text in a bitmap software, and you ever done that and you wonder why your text is fuzzy, it's because you're using a bitmap application for text, when you really should be doing that over in Illustrator. Illustrator is a vector-based program, which means there's a mathematical equation behind the software that's making that black square or that shape. And whatever that color is 100% that color. There's no dot pattern to do that. An advantage of that is that you can scale vector-based art as big as a football field and it won't lose no quality. Or it can go as small as a postage stamp and it's going to look just as sharp because it's not dealt in bitmap, it's dealt in vector-based. So if you're doing logos, specifically logos, you should be doing that in Adobe Illustrator, not in Adobe Photoshop. It's called Illustrator because it's for illustrations, it's for graphics. It's called Photoshop because it's for photos. You need to learn both of those if you're out there in the world doing graphics. Graphics for Illustrator, photos for Photoshop. All right, we got that clear? And then InDesign. InDesign is my favorite. InDesign is a multi-page layout application. If you're doing a menu or something, InDesign is much better for that, but it's definitely for multi-page layouts. For example, editorial design, magazines, which is my favorite type of design. If you're laying out a book or something multi-page, you're gonna do that in InDesign. If you learn those 3 softwares, you got yourself a whole career. And you can learn them through classrooms in a book. Crazy, right? You can really be good, self-taught, knowing those softwares and saving yourself the thousands of dollars and times of going to art school. If you're really dedicated, you really can. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to really learn those softwares, and you'll be fine. So if you're interested in learning these softwares or just sharpening up your tool set and getting a little better at them, what I'm going to do is offer you some tutorials to download for free. So if you just want to email me or DM me those Adobe softwares, Adobe Photoshops in the book that I mentioned, I'm going to send you those lessons for free. The same things I got paid to teach in college. I'm going to send you these lessons. But I'm also, for the first time, I'm going to send Adobe Illustrator tutorials too. Because I love Adobe Illustrator. I'll probably spend more time in Illustrator maybe, honestly. And I really want to encourage people to learn Illustrator because I see a lot of artists kind of take to Photoshop, but they don't learn Illustrator. So I want to encourage you to also get into Illustrator. InDesign, get into there, the multi-page layout, and you can purchase the Adobe InDesign book on your own, which I definitely encourage you to do that because I love InDesign, because I love page layout. I love it when I have a job that makes me work in InDesign. So I hope you picked up on something. Hope I told you gave you a little insight about graphic design, learned a little bit more about me. But always, I just really want to encourage people that if you got the interest, you should pursue it. And yes, you can do it. It's not that difficult. A lot of times we put our own barriers in our own way. First thing to do is remove those barriers and then just go step through step and just take your time. Like I said, with Adobe, I've been in these software since the 90s, so don't compare your skill set with someone else, just don't do that. Just think of your own progression. Take your time. If you want to go into a school setting or an actual in-person setting, that's fine. But also, I do want to encourage you to at least try to do the classrooms in the book. Put your music on, zone out, and just take your time. I know you can do it. We're building up. First we talked about screen printing because I know that's a hot topic for everyone. Then we came back and talked about design a little bit. And then the next thing we're going to talk about vinyl, which is bridging these 3 industries together and bridging the gap. So thank you for your time. And I look forward to phase 3 where we actually a little more hands-on on the vinyl install and vinyl decal. So look out for that one. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Peace.